Welcome to Lemoore City Council Chambers, 429 C Street. This is, what's funny?
You got a ghost?
Please silence all electronic devices as a courtesy to those in attendance. Thank you. Oh, the chaplain's not here. Mr. Warnick, would you like to do the invocation tonight?
Sure, yeah.
If you could please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Is your mic on?
Yes. Okay.
You're gonna do it down there? Okay.
Everybody please bow their heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for giving us this beautiful day, this wonderful weather in this pleasant valley. We're gathered here today to do the work of the citizens of Lemoore, and we hope to do it with truthfulness, respect for one another, and following your rules of doing no harm to others also. We're also here to celebrate and recognize individuals who've contributed mightily to our community. Please look down on them and provide to them your grace. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Garza.
Yeah.
Councilmember Lyons. Councilmember Orth,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gornick.
Here.
And Mayor Matthews.
Here.
And thank you.
Agenda approval, additions and or deletions? None. I did want to see if we could swap the ceremonial presentation with the study session. So if all of our recipients are here, could you let me know? Chloe Cotta? Okay. Jenna Nichols here. She's here. And Haley Couch is here. So we have all those here. We have the Badashis here. Are you waiting for anybody to get here, or is everybody here that's coming? Everybody's good? All right, let's go ahead and just swap them then. Is Westland's here? Oh, it's the bangs, I'm telling you. It's throwing me off. You look like a
know.
kid over there.
I know people that I've known for years don't recognize me anymore. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council, for indulging this time to recognize our scholarship recipients. My name is Elizabeth Jonathan with Westlands Water District. May I suggest I can brag about them a little bit, and then we have members of Senator Othello's office and Speaker McCarthy's office, and maybe we could take a picture with each one and then a group photo. Would that work?
And Mathis's office is also here.
Oh, Mathis's office, sorry. Oh. Thank you. So I'll start with Jenna Nickel from Lemoore Middle College. She has a 3.78 GPA, going to Mississippi State University to become an advertising and promotions manager, likely due to her successes as an entrepreneur, pomegranate and Girl Scout cookie seller. When she isn't raising money for causes she believes in, she helps plan school events, helping wherever she can. She has been recognized by the College Board Hispanic Recognition and Small Town Recognitions Awards, and is a 4-year honor roll student. Would you like to come up and say a few words? You're on the spot today.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone who supported me over these past 4 years. I wouldn't be where I was today without the help of my parents, especially my mom and my dad, who motivated me to go out there and do my best. I wouldn't have been able to achieve where I am today. I'd also like to thank the Westlands Water District for their support in helping me continue my educational journey and hopefully promote my success in the future. So I wouldn't be where I was without the support of those people in my life. Thank you.
It's picture time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia Jacobo and I work for State Senator Melissa Hurtado. I'm her district director. It's a real pleasure to be here this evening to also recognize the Westlands Water District Scholarship recipients. And we do have certificates for all the students. And so I'll give one to Miss Chloe and I'm sure the rest of the offices. Jenna, I'm sorry, but I didn't need Chloe. I apologize for that. Here's Jenna.
Part of the students here.
Congratulations. Sorry I was late. I got stuck in the car.
Okay, now that everybody's moved back, we have Chloe Cotta from Lemoore Online College Prep with a 4.0 GPA. And this young lady actually stood out and is the reason behind some of the changes this year. She emailed me back in January, and thanks to her outreach, I realized I had omitted the non-traditional high schools in the district. So her impressive outreach made me expand the list to include more of the high schools. And her impressive extracurricular activities include competitive dance and weightlifting, has performed as a teacher's assistant at Island Elementary School and King's Dance Center, and a teacher at Hammond Swim School. She is the founder and president of the Lemoore Online College Preparatory High School Community Service Club and has numerous awards and honors. She is headed to UC Davis to become a pediatrician. Chloe?
I just wanted to say a big thank you for having me here and awarding me this scholarship. It really means a lot as I'm transitioning into this new part of my life. I'm super excited to see what I'm going to be able to do throughout college and everything, and receiving this shows that at least someone sees a little bit of potential in me. So thank you guys.
Once again, on behalf of Senator Melissa Hurtado, we have a certificate of recognition acknowledging the scholarship, but also your academic achievements.
One more? Oh, there's another?
Our third scholarship recipient from Lemoore, and let me say, I didn't start by giving some background. We had 53 applicants this year.
Wow.
53, and awarded 17 scholarships. It was tough, and so truly know that your kiddos really stood out. Haley Couch is from Lemoore High School with a 3.94 GPA. Her leadership runs deep. She served as president and secretary of her church class, choir club treasurer, and group leader for 2 choir classes. Awards and honors include ACDA National Choir Member, 4-year honor roll, student of the month, California All-State Choir, Central Region Honor Choir. She loves to serve by working with a vineyard, her church, and children of the community. She is headed to Brigham Young University in Utah to become a future choir conductor. Thank you.
I would like to thank everyone who helped me get this far. I would like to thank Wetlands Water District for the opportunity to be able to have this scholarship that will help me on my way to Brigham Young University. Thank you.
Once again, Haley, congratulations and wish you all the success. Can't wait to have you back in our community, teaching our young ones. Congratulations.
On behalf of Westlands Water District, I sincerely thank you for the opportunity to recognize our scholarship recipients and look forward to seeing you all next year. Thank you, if not sooner.
Thank you. Congratulations to all of you. Don't forget about Lemoore when you're educated. Come back, do good. We also have Lemoore Hardware recognition for their 50th year in business. I know you didn't want to read this.
My Frank Corning's a better speaker than I am, but he offered to read it for me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, that's good.
Does he know that?
He does now. He does now. Well, I'd like to express our sincere gratitude for all of our customers, business support we have received from our loyal family and friends over the years. And Frank's got this long letter he's going to read in there for me, and thank you kindly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Well, it's a pleasure for me to read this letter on behalf of Bob and Ann and the Dashy family. Honorable City Mayor, City Manager, and council members. I've lived in Lemoore my entire life, and it is where I began both my personal and professional journeys. I've witnessed the population of Lemoore grow from just a few thousand to over 27,000 and is still growing. In the many years I've been here, there's been much to be proud of, and I would like to take a moment to acknowledge it. Our community is made up of excellent citizens, including those from Lemoore Naval Air Station and the town itself. Many of these citizens work for numerous small businesses, as well as major employers like Leprino Foods, Olam, Tachi Palace, and the prisons. Lemoore is a significant contributor of produce and food to the world. Thanks to our local farms, dairies, and the expansive cheese factory, Leprino Foods. We have an excellent education system with West Hills College being a standout institution, the Middle College, our beautiful high school, all of our elementary schools, with the new addition of Liberty Elementary. We have an excellent volunteer fire department, police department, and citizens academy dedicated to serving the community and ensuring our safety. We have a diverse range of churches representing various denominations that contribute to our community in various ways. We even have our own newspaper, the Lemoore Leader, that helps keep the community and citizens informed on our town's businesses, community events, and the happenings around town. We would like to express our sincere gratitude for the contributions, for the continuous business and support we have received from our loyal friends and customers throughout the years. Together, we can continue to show Lemoore as the small town community dedication it is and continues to be with our collective efforts. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Robert Badash.
One little thing, everybody in attendance here, being our 50th anniversary, this coming Saturday from 10 to 2, we have free hot dogs and cokes. The following Saturday, we have what was it? Pulled pork sandwiches from 10 to 2 with cokes and this. Like to see all of you come there. And you can fill out a little slip and put it in a bag. And there's a barbecue, a patio set, several things that are given away free at the grand ending. Like to see everybody there. And again, thank you kindly. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
We take a picture?
Yeah, we also have representatives from all of the Hurtado, McCarthy, and Mathis's office as well to present certificates.
Still go very far, Mr. Badashi. Can we get Miss Ann? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Again, my name is Alicia Jacobo and I'm Senator Melissa Hurtado's district director, and it is a great honor and a pleasure for me to be here this evening, recognizing your 50th anniversary of being in Fresno. I was sharing with Mayor Matthews earlier this morning that I fondly recall going to your store many times for my Yankee candles. And so snipped them all and picked a few out along the way. So on behalf of Senator Hurtado, I'd like to present you with a certificate recognizing your 50th anniversary. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rosalinda. I represent Assemblyman Devin Mathis of the 33rd District. Lemoore is new to our district. However, the Assemblyman is a big proponent of entrepreneurs and people who make our communities better. And I can see that Lemoore Hardware does just that. So on behalf of the Assemblyman, thank you for your hard work and betterment of the community of Lemoore.
Good evening. My name is Blake Zanti. I'm with Speaker Kevin McCarthy's office representing the 20th Congressional District, and we're proud to represent Lemoore. Just want to say congratulations on 50 years in business, hopefully another 50 more, and thank you for all you do for the community. And so we would like to present you with a certificate of recognition as well.
Good evening. My name is Benjamin Kaikina, CEO for the Greater Kings County Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Board of Directors and the Chamber, we would like to congratulate you on just past 50 years of business. If I'm not mistaken, you've been in business longer than 50 years, but documented for 50. So what an honor it is to be here this evening to celebrate you. And we look forward to watching you expand and grow your services for many years to come. Congratulations.
All right, pretend like you like each other. We love each other. Team Lemoore.
Oh, you will? Okay, okay, perfect. We're good. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Years. Yeah. I go there all the time. Yeah. And my dad works for us. Hey, I was like, I've never seen something so I started doing it. I know, right? I'm like, oh, there you are. Yeah.
man, I crawled up on the top of a fire truck because we're doing hose testing tonight. And I told them all, I said, you guys, I gotta get out of here. I can't be past here past 5:20 because I said, I don't want to be late. I don't want to pull a Gornick walking into council. And someone said, hey, Stu, it's like 28. I was like, oh my God. I jumped off the back of the dimensions.
You're lucky.
I am lucky. I got lucky. Yeah. Yeah, it was part of their agenda. Well, there went everybody.
Yeah, that cleared out fast.
Good.
Thanks to all those that stayed.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Moving on, we'll head to the study session. SS-1, potential zoning ordinance changes to encourage housing development. Mr. Brandt.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Steve Brandt, City Planner. Yeah, this is a study session to talk about some potential zoning ordinance changes that mostly affect residential uses, but also kind of affect some of just the way we process projects in Lemoore. This is, if you go to the next slide, and again, this is a study session, so we're not asking you to vote on anything tonight. We want to get your feedback so that we can massage what we do end up bringing forward to you to vote on, and also reporting back to the Planning Commission on what we heard tonight to them. We did talk to the Planning Commission about these changes as well, and they didn't have any negative comments. I'll just put it that way. So we're bringing it forward to you now. So this has kind of been a project that has started very slowly, and to get to this point, we actually, the state of California allocated about $250 million for cities and counties in 2019 to accelerate housing production by way of giving money so that we could revise our plans and our policies and our ordinances. They put out the grant programs in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. Everything slowed down, priorities changed, everybody's thinking about other things. We finally got our applications in January 2021. I think they extended the deadline. We asked for a total of $300,000 between two grants. One of them is called a LEAP grant, the other is called a REAP grant, and we got the money. Finally figured out the scope of how it was going to work and what we were going to do in late 2022. Kicked off the project, but the kicker is that the grants money is due to be spent by this September. So we're really working fast now, and we'll be coming back again with whatever we hear tonight. We'll be coming back fairly quickly again for more discussion. So if you go to the next slide. So go back one. So these are some of the challenges. Like I said, the grant work needs to be completed by September 30th. Second challenge, we're right in the middle of a housing element update right now. That's, as you probably know, Lemoore combines with the other cities in the county and with Kings County to do a combined housing element, and the county's taking the lead on that. They've got a consultant that they're starting to work with on that, and we'll be involved in that process. The housing element needs to be adopted by January 2024. So we'll start moving quickly as well. And then this is what the housing element is going to deal with. So this is called the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, or RHNA for short. This is something Christie's really been involved in, working or representing Lemoore with the other counties in allocating these numbers. So what the state does is the state gives the entire county, including the cities, one set of numbers of how much housing they think should be built between 2023 and 2032. And then it's up to us to divvy that up amongst the jurisdictions. And so this is how the numbers shook out this round. So the total is 2329. That's a lot of houses for Lemoore in 8 years to build. And then you see the different income levels. So the way housing elements work, just if you haven't gone through this before, is they usually do in like an 8 or somewhere around an 8-year period that they called that they work with the cities so that we're required to prepare a housing element that shows that there is enough available land in Lemoore to support that much housing development. They don't require us to build the houses because we're not the ones that build houses. Developers build the houses, but we're required to show the state that we have enough land available to build the houses. And sometimes that can be difficult for some cities. And what happens when you can't show it, then you have to commit to do rezonings within a certain period of time in order to then show the state that you have enough housing. The reality is cities usually don't meet their goals for the housing. They usually do provide enough land, but then the market doesn't usually build all of that housing. Yes.
So the chart that we're looking at right now that has all the percentages and the units,
Yes.
those numbers, where does the state get those numbers, or do the cities, or does
The
the county
state,
provide those?
the state gives Kings County that total number that's at the bottom row. And they give that number based on all kinds of calculations that they do at the state level. They give a number to every county in the state.
Do they account for the decline in population in the state or in the county that they're working on?
They account for a lot of things. I don't know if they are accounting for population decline. That's a whole separate conversation that is kind of interesting. I noted because the state came out with population numbers at the beginning of the month. And I noticed that even though Los Angeles County, which is the largest county, obviously, I think they lost 200,000 people in population, but they added 70,000 housing units. So how does that work? Like what? So what it told me is there's not always a direct correlation between housing and population. It's kind of strange.
It sure is. And particularly if in Kings County, if our population has been relatively within 1 or 2% for the last decade.
Yes.
You know,
So I did some looking into, I was looking at those numbers for Kings County and other counties in the valley. Pretty much all the counties in the valley, if I was going to paint a broad brush of 2022, every county lost people who migrated out of the state. In the San Joaquin Valley and in the Inland Empire down south, the net birth rate made up for that. So it looks like we're growing at 1%. Really, the birth rates are growing at 3%, but we're losing 2%. So we have a net 1%.
right.
Everywhere else in the state lost real population because they didn't have the same birth rate that the valley and the Inland Empire does. So it's very interesting. And yet the state is still really pushing for more housing. So that's the scenario that we're in. You can like it or not like it. I don't care. I'm just showing you, here's what I think we need to do to respond.
Is there a way to get some answers to those questions about what they make these assumptions on?
If you want to get into the details, I've got the I know the webpage that spells out how they calculate those numbers, and I can send that to you.
Okay, thank you.
So the last challenge, obviously, is we need to make some policy and ordinance changes to encourage more housing, but we need to do it in a way that maintains Lemoore's uniqueness and positive attributes. I wouldn't want us to, just change things and then not like what we've got, 10, 20 years from now. So today I'm going to discuss some zoning ordinance text amendments. So those are changes, tweaks to the text of the ordinance. In a future discussion, we've got some map amendments. We've shown what we're thinking about to the planning commission, and then but Chris and I'd like to talk to some of the property owners before we bring them to you. Otherwise, they might show up and you'll hear from the first time what they think open session. So yes.
To go back just real quickly, that chart that you had on the last, I believe it was the last slide or last two slides.
Yeah.
Does that account for any of the housing that we've approved, or does that, all of that housing not count? So like Lacey Ranch,
Yeah, they count building permits. So once Lacey Ranch starts going, we'll get to count that because they haven't, well, we've approved it. They haven't pulled any building permits on it. So yes, we will get to count that.
But it's not in this numbers. So we can count Lacey Ranch, we can count all those other developments against these numbers
Yes.
for future. Because we've approved Lacey Ranch is what, close to 500 homes?
Yeah.
And they're gonna be moderate to above moderate, probably, is what we were told.
There might be some that are in the low, a
Yeah.
few, but mostly
Yeah.
will be moderate above
So
market.
we have 1,200
Mhm.
between those two categories roughly, and I'm not getting a calculator out. We have close to 500 going out there
Mhm.
tentatively. So that 12 turns into 7 in a build out. Right?
Mhm.
Okay. That's perspective, I think. Because we also still have the one by the high school that we just approved. That's got 100 homes or so. We still got Leonard out by the college. It's got 300.
Mhm.
So we're at 900 homes. Middle to above, roughly that's already approved, correct? Am I pretty close to them numbers?
Which one?
900 homes between Lacey Ranch, Lennar, and then the one, what is it, west of the high school that we just approved a couple weeks. We're not even talking about the Lennards.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so
Roughly?
no, we're on our way. But I just know from experience, it's a long haul.
No, I understand that. I'm just
No, we're
letting
doing
everyone
well.
understand that there's a perspective in this, that
Yes,
we have 900 approved homes.
yes. And
With
I think,
1,200.
and I think too, a former city manager once said this to me, that, we build homes in the valley. There are cities in the Bay Area and LA that actively resist new homes. And those are the areas that I feel like the state should be focusing on.
100%.
But we all get
But it doesn't fit.
wrapped up together.
It doesn't fit in their politics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what are the consequences, Nathan? I mean, when we,
Of not meeting the arena.
no, are showing progress. I guess my question is, why do we have to dance to their song? Why can't we just dance to ours?
There is a consequence of not doing a housing element in time, and that is that you have to, instead of being on an 8-year cycle to do them, they put you on a 4-year cycle. So it's kind of ironic that because you didn't do it, now you have to do it twice as much. But that has happened to some valley cities. I know Chowchilla, Sanger, Selma have had to do that because they were late. The issue of what happens if we don't build this number of housing, there hasn't been a penalty in the past.
I'm not
But
saying
the-
not build them. I'm just saying in terms of, what Dave just talked about, we've got a significant number of homes in the queue. It's not like we're not paying attention to it.
No, I
But-
believe that when we bring to you a housing element, a draft by January 2024, that we'll be able to say that we have enough land designated for these numbers. So
Because to me, the element too is it's not just their mix in terms of, but it's the quality of the homes and what we can do.
yes, and that's
Yeah.
what we can get into with these standards. So
Okay.
I think the answer, Frank, as long as we're moving forward, it's the state's may not leave us alone, but
yes.
as long as we show progress, and to me, moving forward in progress is good.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
On the higher end of that, we've met forward momentum. Now, the lower end, we just approved 106, low and very low. I mean, yeah, there's 1,000 there, so that's only 10%. So we probably may need to move a little bit, but we also
And-
have how
and-
many at Lacey Ranch that are gonna build, and we don't know if that's gonna be low, middle, we don't
there's
know
some
that.
multifamily zoning there. so
Yeah,
it
there's
could be low.
multifamily zoning there that could be another 100.
Yes.
So now we're at 20% moving forward, more than San Francisco's doing.
Yes, definitely.
So for clarification for myself,
Yeah.
go back to the numbers, I'm sorry. So you said the grant must be or need to be spent by September 2023, right? Are you talking total units, 2,329?
No, what I'm saying is this is a goal that is coming up that we're gonna need to put into our housing element, which is part of our general plan. And the text amendments, the nitty gritty of these changes that I'm proposing that you review is kind of a preemptive strike to help us accelerate that housing development. And it's also, a lot of these are things that Chrissy and I have just seen over the years is like, if this was changed, it would be a lot easier to get things accomplished. So there's some of it is about, updating our ordinance. Some of it is about becoming more efficient in our processing. And some of these things, as I'll show you, are just because the state tells us we have to change the ordinance.
Yeah, and I agree with Mr. Gornick is because it's a needs assessment, right? And so we're at 25.1% for very low. So I kind of want to see what the needs assessment showed on that.
Okay.
Because we're higher than.
And we'll have that when we start working with the county and the county consultant, we'll have maps that show that.
I think they need to spend the 300,000 by September.
Oh, okay.
of 23. They got a
Yes.
grant, they have to spend
They
that
have to spend that.
Yeah.
Okay.
through QK or
Yeah,
through
that was my.
whoever.
Some of it's through QK, some of it, I'll point out, some of it, one of them is coming to your next meeting, the vehicle miles traveled issue. We have or VMT, we have a thresholds study that we had another consultant prepare. And that will actually help in a number of ways because it'll streamline. It'll make, how would I say it? It'll make a little bit easier a difficult situation that the state put us in again for environmental review. So we used some of the grant money for that process. So the biggest change, and I'm gonna move to the staff report now, that I think you'll have the most discussion about is minimum lot size. We had a study session earlier that was kind of driven by one developer. Again, just kind of going through the issue. Right now, our minimum lot size for single family neighborhoods is 7,000 square feet. Any developer that wants to create lots less than that needs to also apply for a planned unit development or a PUD. And really the market appears to be asking for lots less than 7,000 square feet because I would say 9 out of 10 of the last developers have needed a PUD. So the question then is if we're putting everybody through this process, why don't we just make the process make the lot size less, because that seems to be what everybody wants. And I have a chart there that shows what other cities in the area have done recently. I know Visalia, for years, the minimum lot size was 6,000 square feet. They changed it to 5,000 probably about 8 years ago. Hanford was 6,000 square feet. They changed theirs to 5,000 about 5 years ago. Tulare is currently 5,000 square feet. They're working on an ordinance update right now that's going to have 2 different single family zones. One of them will be a minimum 4,000 and one will be a minimum 6,000. So that's kind of their way. They kind of split the neighborhoods up that way. Fresno has 4,000. And then Clovis has 4,500. Selma has 7,000 and they're working on an ordinance update. I'm not sure where they're going to come out at, but it'll probably be 6,000 or 5,000. So that's what's happening in other cities. And as you probably know, a lot of the developers that want to be in Lemoore also are in these cities, and they kind of build the same homes in each city. So having similar lot sizes helps them. Not saying you have to help the developers, but I'm just saying like that's kind of where the market is going. So, but again, that's something where we need to have a discussion, and we need to just decide what everybody's comfortable with in terms of minimum lot size. Yes.
Well, there's a lot of interesting notes on all of these by the cities.
Yes.
And I think that's where the rubber hits the road.
Going even less.
Well, yeah, for example, you take Selma.
Mm-hmm.
They have you can go for less than 7,000, but only 30% of that development can be in that area. And
Yes.
the other question I'm concerned about is, of course, if you zone something for multiple family, what's the typical lot? So the other night when we were talking about those lots out on the east side there, that the daily,
Yes.
what's the lot size on those homes? That
They're large, let's see, those daily homes, the standard is you need at least 3,000 square feet of space for every unit. So
we
if
put
they,
four
so if they
units in.
want, so if they put 4 units in, they have to have a 12,000 square foot lot.
Okay, and is that what we tell them they have to have there, or we scale it down to
That's
10?
no, I'm not proposing any changes to that right now.
Okay.
If you want me to look at that, we can. But that seems to be working fairly well for the multifamily.
Oh, we'll see when we get them all built.
Yeah. Okay.
But I guess my point is that if we have these kinds of kind of an accordion approach, if you will, so that we could meet those categories that the state wants us to
Mhm.
focus in, that makes a lot more sense to me than just trying to put everything in one category in a block. And
Oh, you're saying about you mean like, are you talking about like Selma's thing where they say it's only
we're at least giving you
30%?
guys the flexibility when you talk with the developer to, as I was talking with Nathan today, to talk a little bit about, well, okay, yeah, we'd like you to do that, but we don't want to put all very low income in, a quarter mile of this particular area. We'd like a mix there,
No, and I think that I agree with you. I think that's in the research I've done.
That's just my
That's
opinion. I
what
don't know what
makes,
the rest of the
that's what
council
makes the
thought.
best neighborhoods is a mix
Right.
of housing in the neighborhood. Maybe the people that are on the higher end in that neighborhood wouldn't say that, but the studies that I've read show that schools that have mixed income, the lower income kids do better and the higher income kids don't do worse.
Right.
So to me, that's a win-win.
But usually those neighborhoods are constructed to please a more appealing neighborhood. And so you have a better,
Yeah.
that's all I'm just.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can keep talking about that if you'd like. I want to mention some other things. The site plan review process that we have currently, there's 2 levels, a minor and a major site plan review. The minor site plan review is only reviewed at the staff level. The major site plan review goes to the planning commission. Most cities are now doing all site plan review at the staff level, and it's mainly because all we're really doing now at site plan review is checking to see that they meet all the city codes. And so there isn't really a lot of discretion. The only discretion that I see really is for if the planning commission were to tell me, we don't think you interpreted the code correctly, so we're going to interpret it this way. So I'm comfortable recommending that we keep all of site plan review at the staff level. And then if something needs a use permit or a map or a zone change, then it goes to the planning commission. Yes.
With, for example, in the Lennar Phase 3 homes that we were talking about, where the public was able to come and speak about two-story homes butting up against their property, would that negate that process of public input?
It wouldn't in that case because that's a map, and a map always has to go at least to the planning commission.
Okay.
So projects that I'm trying to think of a recent project that was major that didn't need anything else. Well, the Bush and 19th. Except it has a drive-through. There's like, well, let's say if a restaurant wanted to go at Bush and 19th, a restaurant's allowed in that zone. It's zoned neighborhood commercial. Under the current code, we'd still take it to the planning commission's major site plan review. If we changed it, they would just deal with the staff and off we go.
And then that would obviously by doing just the staff, that would take away from the public being able to come down and saying, hey, I don't want a Taco Bell there. I just not bagging on Taco Bell. I'm
Sure. No, that's fine.
making an.
No, you're right. It does take away the staff, the community's options to comment. So what that means is we have to pay attention even more to the zoning because the last discretionary action then is if you rezone something, then it's like, well, now you can do everything that's allowed in that zone.
Now you own it.
Yeah. The other thing that it does is if something does not require any discretionary review, meaning it doesn't have to go to planning commission or city council, then we don't have to do CEQA review. And CEQA is getting more expensive. So that's going to save the developer sometimes $30,000. The accessory dwelling unit ordinance, those are accessory dwelling units is what used to be called second dwelling units, what used to be called granny flats, mother-in-law quarters. So it's a second home on a single family lot. It's usually smaller than the main home. It can be detached or it can be a whole separate unit that's attached to the rest of the home. The state has over the years told cities more and more that you have to allow these. They used to be discretionary and then they became allowed and then they became, you can't require certain things. So we used to say that the owner of the property had to live in one of the homes. We can't require that anymore. So basically what we're doing is we're just updating our codes to match what the state says we have to be doing anyways. And that way, when our community reads our code, they can understand what they're allowed to do instead of having to go to the state law.
Let me ask you about that. So I've noticed some homes in some areas where it looks like an accessory dwelling unit or what a mother-in-law's quarters or whatever, but they're 2-story. Is that something we approved?
Do you remember approving a 2-story? Yeah.
Or did they just put it up by themselves?
Without telling on somebody, where's that at?
Yeah, I'm not telling.
If it meets the height maximum, then yeah, it would be allowed. I've seen accessory dwelling units that have the garage on the first floor and then the unit on the second floor with a little staircase to it. So it can happen.
Wow, I'm just thinking of the neighbors behind them or whatever who didn't know that there was going to be another second story.
Well, and that's again where we need to look and see, okay, what's our height maximum? And what's our setback? And is that
And we
gonna
can't
be
even keep
encroaching?
the sheds from meeting the setback requirement, the little garden sheds for crying out loud. How are we
The
gonna,
garden sheds are supposed to have a height limit. I think it's.
I mean, yeah, but the
16.
setback too.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean,
Do ADUs count towards our Read the numbers?
Yes, they
Okay.
do. Yes, so that's a good thing.
No, it's not
Uh,
necessarily a good thing.
Well, it's
I
a good
can see
thing.
you see-
It's
I
a
got
good
it.
thing in that it counts towards our numbers. Sorry. So a subset of the ADUs is the cottage homes. And that's something we're working on so that we would have pre-approved plans available to someone who wants to put an ADU somewhere on their lot. So what this would do would set up the ordinance, and then we'll need to go and work with an architect to get pre-approved plans. I know more and more cities are doing them, so they're getting much more available. I know that's something that Nathan is working on. So
Could you establish a prefab unit for something like that, you know? or- I don't
Yes, council, that would be kind of the idea behind it. They'd come up with probably like 4 different homes that meet the criteria. So really, if they submit for that home, everything's already pre-approved. The only thing really the city staff has to do at that point is ensure that meets the setbacks on the property it's going on. So you pretty much,
With the location and of. you
yeah,
know, what else?
so
what-
all
what
that's already
electricity,
pre-approved and it fits. So it's just kind of the utilities, and as long as it fits, it just makes the process a lot more expedient.
Yeah.
But those plans would come for approvals through the system.
It sounds like the ADU, the cottage home, and probably the tiny home are all pretty much the same aspect.
it's a similar idea, but each one, we're naming them differently so we can put different standards on them. Like for the tiny homes, we'll make them, because the tiny homes have wheels so they can be moved around. So we'll say, if you're gonna park your tiny home, you got to put a skirt around it so it looks like a home,
Okay.
not a mobile home.
That makes sense.
So the big trailers we have in the driveways now, if they just put a skirt around it, it's a.
Nope, I don't think it would meet the
No.
design standards, although I'm expecting we'll probably have to have a few arguments at the counter about that.
Yeah.
Because people will want to do that. And then the last one is the SB 9 compliance. That's a law we've talked about before that overrides our zoning and lets people split a lot in half so that they could build, 2 homes instead of 1. I don't think we're gonna see a lot of that happening, mainly because the way we build homes on our lots, there's not enough room to build a second home or to split the lot in half. So you might see it if somebody's got an oversized lot, maybe they've got a 10,000 square foot lot and they had a small home on it. That might happen there.
But there have been developers who've allowed like 2 families to split a lot,
Mhm.
So I mean, that's,
Yeah,
that's
The-
creating a larger lot.
this has only been in effect a year, but what I'm hearing is that people are not taking advantage of this around the state nearly as much as the state thought they would. So,
Yeah.
so again, I'm not gonna get into the details of the text. It's all in there. We'll take comments today. You can write something and send it to Christie. Our plan is we're gonna keep massaging this, and then we'll go back to planning commission for a formal hearing and recommendation to you. And then we'll bring it to you for a formal hearing for changes as well.
Nathan, does this cause additional work in terms of compliance issues, either with your staff or with
No,
Well,
these changes are all intended to make it easier on staff and make the.
That's what we're trying to,
process
we're
more
trying to make it
expedient.
easier for us. So we're looking at these like because Christy and I have had numerous long conversations on Teams about what can we do to make life easier at the front counter without, giving in on quality.
All of it right now, we have to look at our ordinance, someone that has today, it's a little different, we have to look at our ordinance and see what the state says. And do a lot of that forward, whereas now we're just trying to do the things that we have to do, be compliant with, we're trying to do.
It basically sounds like you're just trying to create a box that puts everybody in it and everyone knows the same box from Hanford, not necessarily, but from so these developers can come in, pull a piece of paper up and say, yes, we can build here. No, we can't build here for whatever reason. And we're hoping the answer is yes, we can build there. And it costs a lot less money going back and forth, jumping around, jumping through hoops, because this county wants 7,000, this county or this city wants 5,000. Kind of standardize it, correct?
If you're talking about the lot size, yeah, you could couch it that way. I would think, so yeah, I think that's, to be honest, some of my motivation, but also it's just looking at the market, and the market, you know, there was a time when 6,000, 7,000 square foot was what the market wanted. And now it seems like in general, they want less, they want smaller.
Well,
Not everyone, not
Yeah.
everyone, not everyone.
The younger market.
So I said in general,
Talking to, yeah.
in general.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, like Lakes
I-
Ranch, for instance, has a mix of bigger lots for
Mhm.
some people, and then smaller lots for
Yes, and
people
that's a
that
great
don't want to mow the
neighborhood
lawn
because
for
they
3 hours.
Yeah, they're
did a
entry
mix.
level
That's a
lots.
great
Yeah,
neighborhood.
that's, and
But I
I,
was talking to somebody who's, what, 29 yesterday, and they're like, you know, trying to get into a house, but the interest rates are going up. And then there's the weird thing about if you have a great credit score, you have to subsidize people with bad credit scores. And he's like, how can, he's like, at this point, I'll take anything just to get in.
Yeah.
So. Some of the other topics that I've listed in there that don't require council approval. These are some of the other things we're using that $300,000 for is we're reviewing and updating our subdivision improvement agreement. That's the agreement that every developer has to agree to before you will approve their final map. So it's saying, here's all the things that I'm going to build and make sure I'm going to build it right. And so there's a lot of technical stuff that we want to make sure we get right. Because there's a lot of things that could go wrong in a subdivision construction. So we want to make sure the agreement with the subdivider is correct. Putting together some examples of residential plot plans and landscape plans. It's just a way of being customer friendly, of showing people, okay, here's what we're looking for. Here's an example of what we're looking for, so that maybe their plot plan gets approved on the first submittal instead of the second submittal. So
sidewalks.
sidewalks, we have a standard for sidewalks. It is 5 feet. It can be adjacent to the curb, or it can be set back with a parkway. The developer has to state which one he's going to do during the subdivision process.
When you say sidewalk, how about if the concrete is 36 inches, how come it's 36 and not 5 feet?
When was that subdivision built?
Well, just finished about 2 years ago.
Well, I'd want to check that one.
No, it's been 5 feet since at least 2019.
Well, if you go down.
I'll take a tape measure of mine.
Road, it's right. It's Lenore's new subdivision they finished.
I don't think mine's 5 feet either.
Those sidewalks are 3 feet, and we got more vegetation on both sides of them than take up another 6 inches on each side.
5 feet.
Well, we can check that.
Our, used to be 4.5 feet, and years ago, 4.5 feet up against the curb, so the curb made it 5 feet, but now we have a separate 5-foot sidewalk. That depends on the curb, so.
I'll buy
Would
you
you mind-
lunch, Frank, if it's
would-
5 feet, because that curb, landscaping, sidewalk, landscaping, wall. Okay?
Okay.
In Lemoore, I'll buy you lunch.
Check it.
Now, we
Go
talked about landscaping.
Yes.
Whose idea was it to have sidewalk that's 5 feet? And then dirt or like flower bed, and then grass, and then a flower bed? We
Is
can't
this
have,
in front yards?
yes, front yard.
Yeah, that was the state's idea. So
Because they want the runoff
we
to go into a flower
we
bed,
don't want the
not,
runoff onto the sidewalk
Sidewalk.
for irrigation. Turf or grass is not allowed to be adjacent to hardscape.
You could have a drain though.
There are
Yeah.
exceptions and
you gotta have a
everything,
drain
and
in the front,
the landscape
so-
architects
Yeah.
know it. This has been in effect since 2016.
Yeah, I
So
didn't know if
they've
that
all
was-
learned it. There's a whole long list. They like every plant you can plant in the state. There's a list of, is it low water, medium water use, or high water use? And you pretty much have to use low water use for just about everything now.
So that's what I was basically, so the landscaping is a state mandated.
It's a
Thank
state
you.
mandate. And so one of the
Thank you,
reasons
Governor.
why we want to have some example plans is because there is a lot of technical information about irrigation that they're required to put on the plans. And having an example plan helps them know exactly how we would like to see it in order to get them through the process faster.
You'd be surprised how many resubmittals we
Yes.
get just on irrigation and front yards.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5.
Four,
like, it's
four
horrible.
rounds of plan check.
Or
and
just
then
landscape.
It's
Yeah, no,
not
it's-
fun
it's-
for
it's
any
brutal.
of us.
So the developers just don't understand what common sense would tell you, that it has to be dirt, grass.
Yeah, we mark it up and then they get it wrong again.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That brain.
so that's why we're hoping having some example plans will help with that.
Now, reading this tedious, and I'm probably getting ahead of schedule or taking
Nope.
something from somebody. There's a whole lot of what looks like red lines out, minor site plans and architect reviews. And I could be reading this really, really, really wrong, so that's why I'm gonna ask.
No, go ahead.
And don't take it like it seems like a lot of these changes are taking it out of planning commission and out of city council and putting it onto city staff to make the decisions. And I don't know where I stand on that yet,
Mhm.
but I want to look at it to where minimally I would like a process so the people who we represent has, a say in, like, the 2-story house next to the 1-story house, and it's a 20-year-old neighborhood, and we're gonna build a brand new neighborhood. No one wants to put a 2-story next to, that kind of stuff. And taking it out of the planning commissions and our hands to make sure that a staff member, and I'm not blaming staff because you guys are great, gets to pick what they want, not what 26,000 people want. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because it looks like there's a lot of, it's appealed, but it's appealed to the planning commission. Or it's final,
Yeah.
there's a lot of.
So, and I think you're describing that correctly, that especially with the site plan review process, it is taking it back to the staff level. But again, things that have to go to planning commission, any maps. So that's any subdivisions, any use that requires a conditional use permit, any zone change or general plan amendment. So there will still be things going to the planning commission. What that does is that means you need to pay a lot more attention to that zoning matrix on which uses are permitted and which uses are conditional use permits, because the permitted ones will probably stay at the staff level. But again, if we're doing our zoning correctly, it shouldn't be a problem, because those should be the uses you want in that zone.
And Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but on something like this is once it meets the zoning requirements and the maps meet all the standards, I get you want people to have input, but even if 5 people come in and say, well, we don't want that drive-through, we'd rather have a different restaurant. We have to find reasons for denying that project. And just because somebody doesn't like the restaurant going in, we can't deny that project for that reason, right?
Yeah, no, I
So,
get that. I
okay.
totally get that. I'm not trying to
So,
pick a
in-
McDonald's over a Taco Bell over a Kentucky
So
Fried Chicken,
if I'm,
or a developer over a different developer. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying it seems like we're going, because I sit through this for the county side of it too. It seems like you guys, and it's probably smart, we want a lot size, that the developers will come here and make a process from A to Z easy. They'll be able to come in here and say, Nathan's 5 acres, I want to put 100 homes on that 5 acres. And this is the homes I want to build. This is the money, this is the plot plan, this is the building permit, everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's your 100 grand or whatever it costs to do it. And boom, let's start building. Yeah,
And in a way, you're describing it correctly, the trend that's being, led by the state is if you look at decision making, objective versus subjective. Like objective decision making is, all right, here's what you're proposing. Does it meet our standards? Yes, it meets our standards. You're approved. Subjective is, do I like this? What do people think?
yeah.
And I don't know if the city attorney wants to weigh in on that, but it's a lot harder to defend a subjective decision than an objective one.
But it's also looking at, there's a bigger picture, not just housing. There's also bringing facilities, neighborhood, places like where the Starbucks, I can't think of what it's called. The Starbucks, the Deli Delicious, that's like a neighborhood shopping.
Yeah.
That also, we need to think of those things to go into certain places to spur other things too.
Yeah, and those are part of your zoning. So when we establish our zoning, you're gonna see where those areas are called out within the residential neighborhoods.
Yeah, no, that's what just goes hand in hand. I think those two things
So the,
need to go
in
hand
a
in
way,
hand.
so what this means is the decisions you make about general plans, zoning maps, what's in the ordinance, what your development standards are. You're making all of those decisions before the developer even shows up. And then when they show up, you say, hey, we've got all these standards. We want you to meet them. And if you meet them, you're approved. The old way of doing it is don't really have anything, have the developer show up and say, let's see if we can figure this out, if we like this or not. And it's more subjective. There's less standards to back up your decision. So and you may not like it the way I spin this, but not taking something to planning commission or council in a way protects you, because there's if the whole crowd is against you, but you kind of have to approve it, that doesn't feel very good. So if something, I don't want to bring something to you unless you have discretion to approve or deny it. If I don't want to bring something to you and then tell you, hey, let's have this hearing, but you have to approve it. That kind of sets you up.
Well, exactly. And it's happened to us on a couple occasions, and that's why I think this study session is going as long-winded as possible, because I do not want to make a decision that affects 5 councils from now, like it has happened to us 5 councils ago, doing it to us. And that's what I don't want. So that's my whole point to this is like you said, once we zone something, it's almost impossible to take it back, especially if somebody applies for a grant or whatever, wants to build something there. We own that. And
I'm glad you're asking the questions. I'm glad we're having a discussion, because what I really don't want is for, like, after this is all done, for you to come back and say, Steve, what did you do to me? What'd you do to us? Like, I want you to understand this and feel good about moving forward with it.
Well, two things, if I can piggyback on your comment. I ditto everything you said, Dave. I would much rather see us we could have standards, but I am not opposed to having a developer say, here are 2 or 3 options that you have within this, to give you the discretion to say, well, we really don't want to, we don't want to put that style of home next to these that are already there. In other words, we like a little variety in the development. So that you have some options to do that, as opposed to saying, well, you approve it, I guess you can put it in, and then it looks terrible,
Correct. Yeah.
But one of the concerns I have
Stamps.
is, let's say all this property we have by the college, we have a big development going in there now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of land there.
Mhm.
What do we want to have happen out there?
Well, right now the zoning has a lot of land for commercial development. And that was to try to attract Walmart years ago, and that didn't happen, or it fell through for whatever reason. There's more land besides the Lennar project. There's more land that's zoned for single family. There's more land that's zoned for multifamily, and there's some land that's zoned for
But
commercial.
do we have a concept of what we want that to look like, how we want that to be zoned?
We have the major streets laid out and we have the zoning, and beyond that, the intricacy of that, we
Because
don't have that.
from my point of view, you know, that's a blank canvas almost
Mhm.
in terms of how we would like a part of Lemoore to look like.
Mhm.
And,
100%.
you know, and if we don't say what we want to have there, using the state's plan, you know, whatever we want to mix in there, that we say to a developer here, yeah, we can do that home, but here's the area that we've got zoned for to do that. We don't have that set up right now. They could come into us right now and say, we got another 300 homes we want to put in there, 5,000 square foot lots. 2-story, 1-story mix, right next to the 300 homes that are right. See, and I think that's not planning. That's taking what you can get.
Yep.
And wasting an opportunity out there. You're frowning. You don't think so?
No, I'm not frowning. I'm just listening to what you're saying, but it's, I mean, right now, so we're zoned a certain way. So that's basically staff's direction. So as we go back and rezone that area, that would be at the approval of city council, which the current zoning is how we operate and run the business, is what we've been directed and guided to by past councils. So yeah, you can go mix that zoning up. And if that's something you want to look at, then you could go like medium density, low density, high density. You can kind of mix that all into those uses. You just have to make it fit.
I mean, there's not a lot of landowners out there. But my point is, instead of us waiting for them to come to us, why couldn't we come to them with a plan and say, this is what we'd like to have in the future, or the next 5 years, 10 years?
Well, like you said, there's not a lot of landowners out there. If we approached the landowner and they were amenable, we could work up some type of master plan that was more intricate than just zoning and general plan.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That feeds into commercial development and stuff like that we want to have out there, that, you know, and I don't want to leave out, you know, parks, you know, some kind of recreational space. I mean, there's these mini lots, they're kind of leftover lots that you really can't put a house on. Now you could put one of these little small ones on there, but I mean, you know, you outside of a little swing set and a sandbox, I mean, that's it, you know.
One slide, one swing.
Yeah. That's it.
Like,
Get in line.
like I think going off of what Frank said, imagine on the north side, okay, it's south of Leprino, the railroad track south of Leprino, that piece of ground from our water treatment facility to 41, my bad, 41. That whole piece of land right there. Does the college want student housing? I mean, low income, lower income, middle income apartments? Can we mix that up with some apartments there? I mean, some neighborhood shopping centers, you know, something that we can get the kids to stay there and I mean, that, I don't know, I mean, that's, I think that's a missed opportunity right there.
Yeah, so right now out there from that area you're talking about, there's some for municipal expansion, but there's low density residential, medium density residential.
So it's zoned that way.
And then there's a ton of regional commercial along the freeway. So, but pretty much all the uses out there are either medium or low residential, which is apartment complexes and single family houses.
So
So we just have to kind of look at
find
that map.
somebody that wants to build there.
Mhm.
I think right next to that college would be an awesome.
And we did have an approved plan for 230 something apartments that was gonna go right on that same piece of ground north of Bush, south of the railroad tracks, And then,
on the west
in-
side of
East of
the, on
the,
the
east of the water tanks.
Yep.
west of the water
East
tank.
of the water tank.
Oh, east.
Yep, east, and that was gonna be a nice project, and they pulled out last minute. I mean, that was gonna be a good project.
But
Hell,
they
they
said
already
that
built
was-
up pads and cut roads in, and now it's just all
But
underground.
they said that was because of the grading or the compaction. didn't they?
Yeah, and if you recall, the city at the time, we went back and relooked at some of the plans. And in order to accommodate for that, we went from 6 lanes down to, I believe, 4 lanes on Bush. When we relooked at it, and that would have saved the developer as much money as it would have cost them to treat the pads
But
for the
they-
houses, and then they backed out still. So, I mean, the
They-
college built out there in the same ground, so you can build on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, but, you know, I mean, I would hate to see us do anything to the entrance to that development to narrow that Bush Street going in.
Well, we're expanding it to.
Yeah, I know,
Yep.
I mean, it's because you don't want to put a.
No,
Yeah.
no. But what's gonna go, did we approve something west of the treatment facility?
Yeah, that was a.
Yeah, that's
well,
a low density residential
Careful.
and
Careful.
medium density residential.
So it's actually zoned what I was saying, so.
And then you run into the issue if we start building houses, then we get the base argument.
Oh,
So the base would rather see they don't, okay,
The base doesn't have any argument in it.
right, they don't want to see housing period, but they would rather see apartment buildings and single family homes.
that doesn't make sense.
Well, because people that own a home are more apt to probably complain
Complain.
about noise versus somebody in an apartment complex. They might not be as inclined to complain about the noise. and You probably have more sailors living in an apartment than you would a house anyway.
Okay, but let me give you the other argument about why they remodeled all those houses out there, all those apartments out there. Because they want their sailors to have equity. So when they get moved somewhere, and if there's anybody in from the Navy here who wants to contradict me, I've been in a number of meetings with them. They don't want to be in the residential business anymore. They want the communities to supply the houses. So that when they get transferred, they got a little change in their pocket. When they go somewhere else, they could put it down on a house or, you know, whatever they.
Makes
whatever
sense.
To do. But
So then
they don't have a dog in this fight anymore. I mean, they can squeal all they want, but we've got all the approvals that we laughing at.
And
I mean, what do you-
no, and I agree with you, Mr. Gornick, on that 100%, but that still doesn't stop them from coming.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And
You know,
then we do get
They
residents
come
that,
in with their uniforms.
but we do get residents that come in, and it has in the past swayed people that sit on this council.
Yeah.
Even though they don't have an argument, but it has absolutely swayed some projects in the past. So
Yeah.
I agree with you
I've been here when
100%.
it's happened. I've been
I
here
agree
when
with
it's
you
happened.
100%.
The jets are 500 feet over the building.
Yeah, they
They're
bombed
not to.
one more, yeah. I know.
Sorry, didn't mean to get off. I just,
No, it's fine.
Flats down, they were coming in. right?
Coming in hot.
I like the idea. I just don't want to take away. I don't want the subjective. I'm not saying that right now we currently have staff members that are subjective. I'm not saying that at all or objective or whatever. We're building for the future. We're building 10 years, 15 years down the road. Some people may not be here then, and that group of person may look at it and go, oh, I think XYZ, and forget the planning commission or the city council, where I'm gonna do what I want to do. I want protections in that.
That's where we have to have our ordinance zoning and standards like airtight, correct?
Yeah.
And
That's gonna be a lot of work.
Mhm.
And then how do you,
You can go up to the mic, so,
can you go to the mic, Christy, please? Sorry.
sorry,
I just want to say it also works both ways.
100%.
Staff can do something exactly by the book, the way that it's supposed to be done, and then subjectively, whoever's on, and I'm not saying you, but depending on who's up at the dais.
Yeah.
Can
Mhm.
change everything, and then that makes Lemoore look bad because somebody came in with a really good project. And because if we didn't like it, then it gets.
How much are you using technology to exchange a lot of these documentations? You know, do you still rely on paper a lot, or do you?
Digital.
Digital, so it's not,
Electronic.
Okay.
so it's quicker.
Forms and all that to fill out and all that PDF forms and.
Oh, yeah, both, since
Signatures.
pandemic, all the submittals are coming in
Okay.
by email instead of paper. We used to ask for 20 paper copies and now you get 1 PDF.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we all know the development in another town where the council was blindsided because of past decisions that didn't have anything to do with them. And the staff wasn't the ones that took the brunt of that. It was the elected.
Council, yeah.
So like Councilmember Orth was saying, just ensuring that we're not tying the hands of the people that sit up here, which will come in making sure that those ordinances, zoning and standards are tightened up and where they should be. But that's just like my point of view, is just trying to make sure that, I know we don't have a crystal ball. We can't, foresee everything that could possibly happen in the future, but what would be, say it's not working and the council at that time decides this isn't working, what's the process in changing that? Is that going to take them like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to get
No, I
that
wouldn't think
changed?
it would take that long, because I think you're right in saying that it's gonna be about the standards in the future, what standards we have. And actually, Lemoore has some pretty tight residential standards for what a home should look like and things like that, that other cities don't have. And maybe we need to like a refresher on that, because we're not proposing any changes to those.
I think that would be helpful because,
Okay.
and I've said it to the planning commission too. I think it'd be great to have us meet together, just so they understand a little bit about what's going on too. So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to get crossways with them either.
I agree.
They-
I think that'd be awesome to meet, so we can all, so we're there, they have input. They have input, we have input, we all are walking in the same direction.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, that may not happen in 4 years or 6
So,
years or 8 years.
Yeah,
or
so
whatever.
the standards are gonna kind of be like we've always had the issue with uses, the zoning ordinance has all this list of uses. Well, people invent new uses, and then you have to figure out, how are we gonna regulate this? How are we gonna regulate B&Bs? How are we gonna regulate cannabis? Those are all new things that nobody imagined, a few years earlier.
So how do we streamline those as
Yeah.
fast as we're streamlining everything else?
Which
To be able to make those changes
Well,
streamlined as well.
again, it depends on, so some of it is in my view, it's like, are your standards do they need to be in the ordinance, or can they just be standards? So like we have improvement standards, like the engineering improvement standards you adopt by resolution, and you can do that pretty quick if you want to make a change. The zoning ordinance, has to go through hearings and things like that. So,
But what's the threshold for example, let's just say parks, okay? What's the threshold on a park? Or that you deal with when somebody comes in and says, oh, I want to put 45 homes here. Do we even have a discussion about parks?
Yeah,
We do.
It's in the ordinance depending.
All right.
Yeah,
So
there isn't an ordinance, and it's based on
Calculation.
houses, population, homes, how
Also
big of an
supposed to
area
say-
designated for a pocket park you have to have in that.
Pocket park.
It's called pocket parks, yeah.
That's
Or-
the-
The one next to my house.
That's
Yeah.
also,
but
from
then
the
we
state,
also
correct?
collect money for the city to build parks. And I don't know, I think we've spent that money expanding existing parks instead of, building a brand new one somewhere.
There's-
And we
there's
get,
just
we-
money in it.
and that comes off of fees we charge.
The developers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that's up to us if we wanted to increase that or whatever, or does the state
Yeah,
control
in
that
fact, we're
too?
working on a impact fee update right
Yeah,
now.
it's pretty
So-
much done. Staff has to review it. Once staff reviews it and approves it, then we'll be bringing it to council for adoption.
Okay.
That was another thing we did with some of these funds.
And that will speed up the development aspect of it, kind of like,
Not that so much. That's really the fees we collect. So every few years we go back and look at our fees, and because it's more expensive to do business now than it was 3 years ago. So it kind of
100%.
gets us caught up, and they're not just arbitrary numbers. You got to tie them back to specific projects and how they're applied. And so with the impact fees, depending on how we collect them and how the impact fee study is written, we can only use those fees for certain things.
yeah, makes sense.
Right, so we're constantly looking at those and updating them, so there'll be an update coming, I would say, within the
Okay.
next 60 days to council.
Good enough. Well, Frank and I were just talking. I think I owe him a lunch. we're gonna go out and measure, but we're
Oh, he does like McDonald's. Frank
Oh, that's good.
Frank wants to be right. Well, Frank versus Frank. So what I'm here, I mean, generally what I'm hearing is we move in this direction. Our standards need to be airtight. We need to double check that they're right. They're how we want them. Think about things that might slip through the cracks and try to prevent that before it happens. And if it does happen, then quickly make a change so it doesn't happen more than once.
I used to hear a lot about housing setbacks.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Who's laughing?
Did you watch the planning commission?
No.
Okay,
No. What is?
should.
So that, now, where does that come from? I mean,
That comes
why are
from
we
the zoning
different?
ordinance.
Why are
So
we different than other cities in that regard?
why are we different?
Yeah.
Are we different?
It sounded to me like we were.
Okay. I know one of the things we do is we have a stagger requirement. So if this house is at 20 feet, then the next one should be 18 feet back and then 20 feet and then 18 feet back. We're actually,
Why is that an issue with a developer? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Is it a developer or is it us?
That was us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was us. So but see, the homes they're building, because now we're also requiring, well, your living space of the front of your home needs to be closer than the garage. So it's almost like they're designing a stagger into the home. So what we were proposing is move the minimum to 15 and just call it 15 for the living space. Garage have to be 20 so that you could still park your car in front of the garage door. So that's a change, but I'm trying to think, do you remember what they were talking about at planning commission about setbacks? Was it the side yard?
I think someone just asked why it's the 2018, 2018, 2018.
Okay.
That's
I-
fine.
Yeah, it was the
That's-
stagger, and I think
It was
because
it was just a
Because
question
the
why.
council in the past thought that was a good idea.
Okay, all right, it wasn't in the art.
That would have been put in,
my
that would have been in
neighborhood's at,
place, that
and-
would have been in place in 2012 or earlier.
And it looked like the developer gave us homes that would aesthetically look better with that setup.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
I
mean,
can see that, yeah.
I don't really.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in my opinion, the home product that developers do looks better than it did 30 years ago. I mean, sometimes they were just a box.
Yeah.
And so,
And I think the bigger garage driveway. Because I drive through my neighborhood, I'm gonna tell you, I think there's 5 people that use their garage for its intended purpose
yeah,
of putting your cars in there. No offense to anyone that doesn't do that, but I mean, I just think that spurs more cars
mhm,
out on the street, which then causes street sweeper problems, picking up trash problems.
Yep. I agree.
So I like that.
Well, I don't know why they call a 2-car garage a 2-car garage.
True.
I get a kick out of watching the neighbor just bought a new pickup truck and can't get it in the garage.
Yeah, well, I have 2 cars and they both fit in my garage. Fine.
Well, that's because you have a 3-car garage.
Right, but it fits. The one car I had to drive it home from the dealership to make sure it fit.
Well, are they both smart cars or what?
My expectation, one sitting out there. So anyways, yeah, I like the 20-foot driveways.
Okay.
But I'm only one of 5 and then one of 4, how many over there, so.
Any other comments or questions from council?
Yeah, good discussion.
We'll open it to the public. Mr. Walker?
Don't say broadband.
Broadband. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I thought this was a very insightful conversation. I had some comments I wanted to share and then also some clarifying questions. I wanted to thank the presenter for preparing that document. I actually took the time to go through it and it was very well presented. I also took the liberty to do some research outside of what was provided, just to kind of give it some sense, because at the previous council meeting, when we had the discussion, I was really thinking about what it means to have a single family zoning. Like, what does that look like nationwide? And
a variety of different sources kind of point that the average is just over 2,000 square feet. And the United States Census Bureau defines a single family house as the average around 2,273 square feet. So reflecting on that, reflecting on the houses we have in our community, I think the change to 5,000 is reasonable and would still meet what our goals are and like what we want personally, as well as what we want to attract professionally. And I also think there's many opportunities in rezoning to really create a resilient community. I would love to see more parks. I would love to see more places like Cinnamon Square, which I believe Councilmember Orth was alluding to earlier. So I'm very proud of Lemoore, and I'm very happy to see that we're updating to not only comply with state laws, but to ultimately meet our goals and create a resilient community that people want to live in. And with that said, I had a couple clarifying questions because I reflected on previous public comments from other people in our community made at previous meetings. I did want to clarify, when we changed the lot size, the minimum standard, it's not prohibiting people from combining lots, correct? If like, let's say like I had the money to buy a 5,000 square foot lot and another one next to it, I can combine it to one 10,000 square foot lot. Yeah.
There's no maximum, correct? It's just the minimum. Yeah.
Okay, because I noticed in the packet, there was a previous maximum listed, but that was stricken away. And then the other clarifying question I wanted to ask is when, because I noticed we're not voting on anything tonight, but when could we expect a final product in terms of changing our definitions for public comment and approval? August. All right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to present. If anyone has any questions regarding the sources I listed earlier, I'd be more than happy to share, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment from our only other public in here?
I guess the only thing I really want to address is, being on the planning commission, I don't think any of us commissioners want anything taken away from us, but Steve made a good point. There was, for example, we had a site plan review for apartment complex a while back. And we had
Mr. Etchigoin. I was just.
Oh, sorry.
Well, actually, I can say it. If you could speak in your individual capacity instead of speaking for all of the planning commission, unless you have authority from all of the planning commission. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm speaking on my own. But we did have a review, and we had a lot of the people from the public there against it. Well, the land was designated multifamily use long ago. And so that's what it was zoned for. And after going back and forth, we were advised that as long as it met all the city requirements, that we really had no choice but to approve it. So with things like that, I think, why does that even need to come to us? If it's out of our hands, and all we really are saying is, does it meet their approval of the city requirements or not? And
Well,
staff knows what they're doing.
Well,
it should.
That's a good point, and I'm glad Mary's here. Good. So Mary, if the commission says, yeah, I know it's on that, but that was 10 years ago and the land's built up around it and it doesn't look like a really rational reason to do it now. Can we table this or move it back or ask somebody to take a look at the zoning?
Well, I think that would be project specific. So if it's related to like
Yeah,
your
but
low
let's just say-
income housing, exactly. So the answer is it depends. Great lawyer answer.
Great.
So we would take a look at it.
Because my back gets up when I don't think we should make decisions recklessly. But I also think we shouldn't be fearful of making a decision that could go counter if a developer wants to challenge us. Because if we have good grounds to challenge what it's for, I mean, our job is, and your job is to make sure, and Steve's job is to make sure we have good neighborhoods, good community, et cetera. And if
Right.
we think that goes against it, okay, the judge could say, no, I'm sorry, you lose, but at least we're sticking up for what we believe in. I don't know.
Right, based on specific findings
Yes,
that the council or
exactly. Yeah,
planning
yeah,
commission would have to
yeah.
make.
I think
I mean-
on the instance I was talking about, that land was purchased long ago through government funds and had to be designated for what it was. So
Yeah,
it was what it was. So
gotcha.
And that's my 2 cents of why I think
Thank
we
you,
need
sir.
to watch how we
Mhm.
rezone stuff just because of an arena or this or that, or what is going. I think we need to just be careful, take a step back. Currently, my math is we have dang near 900 homes and probably a couple hundred apartment complexes. Let's build that out and then let's move forward on moving forward. And that's where I just think we need to watch how we zone things and be very mindful of just zoning it to zone it, because then it takes it out of their hands and his hands and our hands, to say, no, we don't want that, or the people don't want that just because a developer in Chicago wants that because he can get grant money or for whatever reason. I think we need to go with what Frank said and control our movement accordingly. I'm done for now.
Okay, so since there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead and, oh,
Jennifer, please.
Good evening. Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. Jennifer Solis, 757 Redwood Lane, sorry. Thank you just so much for the interesting discussion, because as I'm hearing you guys talk, I was wondering, like, how would the conversation be differently around the dispensaries, not only housing units, but definitely other areas with zoning? And just wondering, if it does get approved to the staff level, would there be a process to review the zoning prior, with a list of all possible options? But I know, like Mr. Brandt said, uses obviously get created all the time. And then, so I don't know if that's something that should be put in place just as a suggestion of, like, okay, if we're going to give it to the staff level, should they bring a list every 6 months of what's been approved, or should the zoning be reviewed annually or anything like that? But just, yeah, thank you for the interesting discussion. It's been fascinating to listen, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
thank you. Now we're moving on to public comment. Public comment will be in accordance with the attached policy. This time is reserved for members of the audience to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. It is recommended that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes each, and it is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on members discussed that are not on the agenda. Prior to addressing the council, any handouts for council will be provided to the city clerk for distribution to the council and appropriate staff. You will have an opportunity to comment on items on the agenda once the agenda has been called and is open to the public. Is there any public comment? Mr. Walker?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm very happy to be here tonight. On behalf of the Rotary Club of Lemoore, I have some updates I would like to share with y'all. Earlier today, we had the Board of Supervisors, Representative Doug Verboon, come to our meeting to talk about water and flooding issues in Kings County. It was a very insightful conversation. Our members got to ask questions and really gain an understanding of the situation. We appreciate his service to the community, and we're very happy that he spoke. I have on good authority that some council members are going to be speaking in the future, which I'll share at a later meeting, but I would like to extend an invitation to all the council members to come to our meetings Tuesdays, 12 to 1. We'll feed you great lunch. It's a wonderful time, and you can share what you're doing in the city and the community and all that good stuff. We're currently in the process of transitioning to a new leadership team for next year. Prospectively, I'm going to be on that as well. And when that happens, I'll be announcing our new representatives in Rotary. But we're very proud to be serving the community, and we'll have some new projects coming that I'm very excited to share in the future. And I also wanted to take a moment to speak personally, not on behalf of Rotary, but on behalf of myself, that I'm very proud of Lemoore. I'm very happy that we got to celebrate our scholars tonight. I think that's what really makes our community vibrant and great to live in, that we will take the time during a council meeting to recognize their achievements and their successes. So I want to congratulate them on their achievements and wish them all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Any online? Okay. Department and city manager reports.
So first up tonight, Chief Kendall.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Just a reminder, tomorrow is the Kings County Peace Officer Memorial be taking place over at the Government Center in Hanford. It's open to the public for all to attend. 10. And then on May 31st at 6:30 PM is the Liberty Middle School graduation, and on June 1st at 7 PM is the high school graduation. So we're just asking that if you don't have any business in the area to help alleviate some of the traffic, it would be much appreciated. We'll have both events heavily staffed with both officers and our volunteers in policing. And then lastly, I just want to thank the seniors over at the senior center. They hosted us last week for lunch. We had a great lunch out there and very large attendance. So again, thank you to them. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening again, Mayor and council members. Couple things out of my office. So met today with an outfit, Key Writing. They do grant proposals and grant applications. So starting to look out there for some additional fundings for roads, water and wastewater projects. We're continuing to work on the budget. We'll be bringing that to council next month, and I'll be going over some dates with y'all here in a minute. So if you could get your calendars out, I'd appreciate it. Water out at the North Wellfields, river's down a couple feet. So even though flows are up, they must have opened gates downstream and have more options. I know they're dumping quite a bit to the lake bottom. So we're looking good so far. Everything's holding there. So I'm happy to report that. I believe the West Hills College may be a potential place for displaced families if they need sites. So today I got a call from the county, and they're gonna get with the college and send some engineers out there to really look at flood potential of the college and maybe start doing some sandbaggings and things like that if they feel the need to ensure that that's a safe flood-free zone, so we can house people out there. So that's all taking place or starting to get in the works today. And then next month, we currently have council meetings scheduled for the 6th and the 20th, I believe.
Yes.
So, and it's my understanding on the 6th, we're going to have 2 members absent. So I would like to request that we cancel the June 6th meeting and move that out to the week of June 12th. And we would do our first, it'd have to be after June 13th, actually. So I'm looking for a special meeting that second week of June. Can we come up with a date for that? And that meeting will be for regular business. We'll probably try to keep it light because that'll be a huge study session for the fiscal year budget.
14th is the
Wednesday.
best for me.
I work Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Is that the
I got
14th
a groundwater GSA meeting that evening. so
15th.
and the 15th?
Can't do it Tuesday.
Pardon me? I didn't hear you, Chris. Well, right now we're trying to figure that one out. The week of June 12th. But it looks like that's not going to work. So how about if we're going to cancel the 20th, is anybody available? Is June 19th open for anybody?
I'm open.
Yes.
Juneteenth. Yeah, I'm open. Monday.
Monday, June 19th. Okay, so with council's consent, I'd like to go ahead and cancel the meeting on the 6th and then have a special meeting on 6/19, which then we would cancel the 20th meeting because we'll have another member absent from that one, and then come back for final approval on the budgets. Could we get everybody here on June 27th, the 4th Tuesday of the month?
Yeah. I'm good.
I'm good. See
The
two,
27th.
David, the 27th, yes, Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm requesting then is to cancel the June 6th and 20th meetings and reconvene special meetings on June 19th and June 27th at 5:30 respectfully. And additionally, the following meeting after that is 4th of July. So I'm asking to, I don't know if we've already canceled July 4th on the calendar this year, but if not, we'll be sending out a cancellation for 4th of July.
Thank you.
Fair enough? We good?
Are we gonna have fireworks anywhere
High school.
besides my neighborhood?
Send it. You're gonna send us changes.
Yeah. Somewhere.
So we're not doing a fireworks show is what?
No, I was just
No, we
throwing that
didn't
out
budget
there.
for fireworks this year.
Are they? I thought we were supposed to do something.
The fireworks are doing.
Yeah.
The city and the high school doing.
Everybody knows that there's
That's what I heard.
No, was that long?
So the 13th, we're not doing, we're doing the 19th and 27th, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's what we get a special meeting. We can't do that at a special meeting.
two.
We can renotice it. Okay. Okay, so we're still good with those dates?
19th and 27th.
All right,
Just
we
wanna make
have,
sure.
we have some logistics to work out on our end for another project that's been noticed. So we're gonna have to send out notices that we're moving the meeting. And what meeting was that, Marissa? Okay, let's renotice that one. Okay, I'd like to just carry on with that motion, then if we're good, we'll keep it the same. Okay, and that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to consent calendar, items considered routine in nature are placed on the consent calendar. They will be considered and voted upon in one vote as one item unless a council member or member of the public requests individual consideration. 3-1, approval minutes, regular meeting, May 2nd, 2023. 3-2, approval budget amendment CIP 5013, Bush Street overlay. 3-3, approval administrative policy 2023-02, donation and gift policy. 3-4, approval resolution 2023-13 to review and renew the declaration of a local emergency and the related declarations and orders therein. 3-5, approval local road safety plan. 3-6, approval acceptance of SB 197 $2 million grant funding from Senator Hurtado's office. 3-7, approval resolution 2023-14. Adopting a list of projects for fiscal year 2023 through 2024, funded by SB 1, the Road and Repair and Accountability Act of 2017. 3-8, approval notice of completion track number 921, Brisbane East, Woodside 06N LPA, California Limited Partnership. Anybody want to pull any of those items or?
I'd like to pull 3-8.
Anybody else from council? Anyone from the public?
Madam Mayor and Council, I respectfully request that we pull 3-4 from the consent calendar.
3-4, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar minus 3-4 and 3-8.
I motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lyons, a second by Councilmember Gornick. Councilmember Lyons.
Aye.
Councilmember Gornick.
Aye.
Councilmember Garza.
Aye.
Councilmember Orth.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. 3-4, was there a specific?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Manager Olson, not to put you on the spot, but I pulled the item because I wanted to see if there was any specific updates regarding the state of emergency in Lemoore.
No, so this was done so we could expedite some repairs in case we had localized flooding on existing wells. So as of right now, none of that's come to fruition. The wells are standing tall. We're working on the other well. And then part of this declaration then made the city eligible for reimbursement for some of the expenses incurred to prepare for potential flooding. So
Thank you so
business
much.
is normal right now.
That's good news. No news is good news. And I appreciate what you do for the community and I fully support the passage of 3-4. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public have any questions about 3-4? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lyons and a second by Councilmember Orth. Councilmember Lyons.
Aye.
Councilmember Orth.
Aye.
Councilmember Garza.
Aye.
Councilmember Gornick.
Aye.
And I vote aye. That's a tongue full now. 3-8. Was there something specific?
Yes, I pulled this specifically. I have received the letter today that they are gonna fix it. What I'm gonna request, if I don't want to be too mean, but if we can table it until, I don't doubt Woodside's gonna do it, but I'd prefer to wait to see unless there's something I'm missing, the little work they want to do. The letter says they're gonna add a little road base. I mean.
Yeah, so we're
there's
gonna be
some holes
there.
out there
Yeah,
too.
they were, so they're gonna be on site tomorrow. We'll be there to make sure they inspect, make sure that we do have rock throughout that area behind the driveway to the fence, make sure that the low spot by the drive approach gets filled in. Again, this is, they will not be off the hook. They will have a 1-year maintenance on this entire subdivision that they'll have to adhere to. So if there's any broken, if the street lights go bad, if there's road deficiency, sidewalks cracked, they'll have to take care of that for a whole year. So, but I guess it's totally up to the council on whether you want to postpone this.
What are the impacts to tabling it just for the next meeting or something like that?
It's more of the developer. I mean, he's paying a large bond. He's been paying a large bond for
3
many
years.
So this would reduce his bond to a 10% bond, but he still will have the 1-year maintenance. So with the council, the date's changing, it's going to put him farther out. We'll take it, we'll have to take it to the third week of, I guess, June to bring it back. So
Well, it changes, do you think it will change him from doing this stuff? Or he'll
No.
still have-
no, I don't think, it was just a trucking issue, why they couldn't get it done today. So that's why we made contact with them this morning and said, hey, just give us something in writing that you intend on being here tomorrow and, we'll see you out there tomorrow. So we would just have to, we just have to take his word for it. And but sounds like he plans on taking care of it tomorrow, but
And what assurances will we have if they have a problem with the truck breaks down, something they can't do this tomorrow, but we've approved it today to give them clearance. You say they still have to do it, but I mean,
yeah.
I trust them
Yeah.
about as far as I can throw them.
Yeah.
Because
So
if you
it's
saw how they
it's-
painted the
it's
fire hydrant,
it's a trusting. I
I'm
think
really
it's-
glad I don't have a fire hydrant in my front yard because I'd be mad.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Good evening, council. This is Randon, Management Analyst, Public Works. I also wanted to make a comment on what Frank was saying regarding the 1-year maintenance bond. So that maintenance bond doesn't exactly expire after 1 year. That maintenance bond has to be signed off by our Public Works Inspector. So with this notice of completion passing, say they never fix it, we still don't release that maintenance bond. So they'll still be on the hook if they don't do this within the next year. We release it once the checklist has been completed. So they are still tied to it. They're not released because of this.
Okay. That makes it that explains it a little bit better. Okay, I'm glad. I mean. So they're still, okay. My questions are answered. If nobody else has any questions,
Let me open it to the
yeah,
public real quick.
my bad.
Anybody from the public have comment on 3-8? Seeing none, bring it back to council.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion by Councilmember Lyons,
Second.
second by Councilmember Gornick. Councilmember Lyons,
Yes.
Councilmember Gornick,
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
I abstain on that one.
Councilmember Orth,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
vote yes. So it passes. Thank you, sir. Moving on to public hearing report, 4-1. Public hearing resolution 2023-15, approving general plan amendment number 2023-01. Conditional use permit number 2023-01 and major site plan review number 2023-01. And first reading of ordinance 2023-02, approving zoning map amendment number 2023-01. Mr. Brandt.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Steve Brandt, City Planner. This project is to develop the 20.5 acre property that is just south of the interchange at 198 and 19th Avenue. The site is currently owned by Kevin King. And he would be selling the roughly 4 acre western portion to Maverick, which is a fueling station mini mart developer. They're haven't been in California very much, but they're in many of the mountain states. So the site is there up on the screen. So the proposal would be to change the general plan designation and the zoning of the 4 acres from mixed use to regional commercial, and then change the rest of the 16 acres to light industrial. There's no specific plans for the light industrial part right now. Kevin King has shown us some conceptual plans for further dividing the site into smaller parcels. If he does make a formal proposal, then that would go to the Planning Commission as a parcel map. So right now, all that would be, you would be giving him the zoning for light industrial. For the Maverick site, we also have before you a site plan and a conditional use permit to allow that use there. The first phase of the Maverick site would be a roughly 99,000 square foot building for a mini mart with fuel canopies for gas and diesel pumps. There'd be canopies on both sides. One side would be for the lighter vehicles, and then the other side for the larger trucks. All the access would be from Iona Avenue. There'd be 3 access points on there. There's space in a future phase for additional fuel islands, and then also for a drive-through restaurant. In looking at the site plan, we worked through the site plan. All the departments have had a look at it. We're happy with it. We believe it meets all the city standards. It meets the standards for the drive-through lane, and parking has more than enough parking on the site. The meets our landscaping standards. Couple things. Oh, and the alcohol sales is part of the CUP request, so it would be a type 21 license, which is for sale of beer and wine for consumption off the premises. And there's no, the city has a requirement, a separation requirement for schools, parks, and religious land uses, that none of those are within 500 feet.
So what kind of how are we doing on sidewalks along Iona?
5 feet.
Those will be.
To city standard. I believe 5 feet, maybe 6.
That was awesome, Steve.
Come on, Frank, come on.
Is there broadband out there?
There better be if this guy wants to stay in
Is
business.
there broadband out there?
What, how far do we go on that side? Do we sidewalks all the way down?
So they'll have to do the improvements in front of their area, and as Mr. King develops the rest of the site, then when those come in, they'll have to finish it out. So it'll go along that.
Yeah.
It'll go on along that property line.
Oh, man, so it never gets finished.
No, I think he's got some interested parties that are already local businesses that they're just kind of waiting and working deals that are gonna go on the other adjacent pieces.
So tell me on this site, which part gets sidewalk? And how far does it go to the east?
It would be if you, can you go back to the proposed general plan map?
I don't know, I can't tell.
So, oh, okay, you can go back to, so everything on your left, that's kind of, what is that, tannish color?
Yep.
That would be where all the improvements would take place with Mavericks. So you'd have your curb gutter and everything up until that point. That's correct, is it not, Steve?
Yes.
Up until where?
Up until where it
changes
turns
from
kind of gray purple.
Okay. Well, that's the whole project.
Yeah, the whole project in
Okay.
front of Mavericks will have curb gutter, the
Okay,
approaches,
all right,
all that
all right.
improvements will be done.
All right.
So then, but everything in that, I guess that's purple, light
Yeah.
purple. I don't know what color
But
that
then
is.
when the,
Lavender.
Lavender.
what's, but if he's gonna,
Plum.
that one along the curve there, where they having a boulder, kind of a grayish or purple line there,
It's a retention pond.
that's a retention pond.
Mhm.
And he thinks the rest of this is what, residential or commercial, or what are we zoning it for? Those other lots?
Commercial.
Light industrial.
Light industrial.
Shops probably.
Small shops.
And is that mini storage in the back corner? Top of it, looking
It-
like maybe, or
It
that,
appears to be, but again, that is only conceptual at this point, so he
Yeah.
could still change his mind. He hasn't submitted it formally.
are there pumps on both sides of that center?
Yes,
The
the
Maverick?
west side would be for cars and light trucks and the
East
east
side
side
would be for
for
big
large trucks,
Semis and RVs.
semis and RVs, yeah.
So,
So
if he gets somebody that wants to put in a some kind of a commercial facility in one of those lots, do the sidewalks come in with that? Once he starts developing that end, or do you wait till it's completed?
No,
We can only require the improvements as a response to a development proposal, so it'll depend on how he packages his development. It may be based on what he submits, it may be that he has to put it in all at once, or he may get to put it in piecemeal.
See, that's one of those subjective things that we're talking about up here, that we get stuck with.
Well, it's kind of like we're not allowed to require something unless they're proposing something. It's a
Well, if they're
response.
proposing that they want to put somebody in this. Okay,
Yes, but if they only want to build, if they only want to build on a small piece of it, then we can only require sidewalk in
Where
front
does
of
it
the
say that?
development.
Where does it say that?
Where does it say that?
Yeah.
Supreme Court,
Pardon me?
the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says you can't require more from someone than what the impact they're
But if
providing.
they're gonna
the city.
start developing that whole piece,
If they're developing the whole piece, they have
no, well,
they have to improve the whole piece. But if they
excuse me.
develop, if
Now,
they,
now we're really splitting hairs here. So if I'm gonna put something in this, one of those squares,
uh-huh,
okay, that's developing that site, in my opinion. Therefore, in order to develop that, for that person to have access to that driveway, there's gonna have to be curb and gutter there to get in there, and there should be a sidewalk all the way down there
Yes.
too. Right?
yes,
but just to the building. Like if you're looking at this, they're not gonna go, I think that's 487. I'm guessing that first little number there next to Mavericks. They're not gonna make it on the far east side, have curb and gutters if they're only putting a building right there in that one little corner on the west side, correct?
yeah.
Why?
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court,
Because-
give me a break here, Supreme Court. I got an attorney over here. She knows better than that.
No, I think you want. Ask that.
I mean, if you want to show off that you want to sell these things, why would you not have access for them to get in?
Well,
there? 'Cause-
no, and I'm speaking in theoretical, but in reality, you usually see an industrial park like this build out all the streets and the sidewalks and then start marketing.
Right,
So,
like the ones we've had here in Lemoore.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the likeliest scenario because that's what usually happens.
Okay,
I'm just saying that if they only if they don't choose to do it that way, we may not get all the sidewalk all at once, but we'll get it all
See, that's the
eventually.
point is you're telling them they don't choose to do it. Why can't we tell them to do
I said,
it?
no, I'm saying if they choose to only develop a portion of their site, we can't, then that's it.
No, it's not. I mean, sir, we'd like you to develop all of this. You know, if you're gonna.
Well, we
I-
can't say, he can't say, well, I want to build one building and we say, no, you have to build 20. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No, but if you want to, but in order for the city of Lemoore
Mhm.
to have curb and gutter on their streets, okay, for these developments, we should have curb, gutter and sidewalk there.
Yes, and we'll require that
When?
when he proposes a development project.
Okay,
We don't know that Amazon's not gonna buy that and build a bigger
no, we don't.
distribution center there. I doubt it.
I doubt it. It's too small.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
so how about the sidewalk on the south side of Iowa?
That would be that property owner.
Concrete company's job to
Pardon me?
fix that.
That's the responsibility of that property owner on the south side.
And how do we get that property owner's attention?
Normally that would come in on a change of ownership or change of intended use. Because right now, right across the street from there, that's all light industrial and it opens to parking lots directly to the buildings.
Yeah, that's what
So what's gonna happen to the, what's his name's, auto, shop? When he uses all that area for parking for his cars that he's working on.
He's trying to buy a lot across the street to go in next to the Mavericks.
Good, so he can put a sidewalk on both sides.
There you go.
You're talking about Aguilar?
Yeah.
I want to add, there's two things that came out in the environmental review for the Mavericks site or for the entire project. The one is, well, for the industrial, there's residential homes to the east. So we put in a mitigation measure that says that there needs to be like a 25-foot setback where pretty much not hardly anything can happen, maybe just storage up to the height of the block wall that we're going to require to be put in. And then the other one is, it's not triggered with this first phase of the Maverick development, but when all of this is built out, the traffic study says that intersection needs a signal. So at some point, we'll need to be putting a signal in there, and the developer's contribution is paying their impact fees toward the signal.
So we handle signals differently.
Signals, there's the traffic impact fee that developers pay, and that goes into a special traffic impact fund. And then the city can use that fund to build signals.
Okay. I want everybody to go home. I got a lot more questions. We're good.
Any other questions or comments from council? I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to council.
Motion to approve.
Second,
I have a motion by Councilmember Orth and a second by Councilmember Gornick. Councilmember Orth,
Aye.
Councilmember Gornick.
Aye.
Councilmember Garza,
Aye.
Councilmember Lyons,
Yes.
and I vote aye. No new business. Moving on to strike that. City council reports and requests. Councilmember Garza.
I have a brief report. One, I did attend the Rock in the Arbor, May 5th. Madam Mayor was there also on the 5th. It was a good time, and I know that the second week probably had a better turnout than the first week.
Mhm.
But hopefully I'll continue to see it grow because it was a pretty good event. My second item is I did have my orientation for Kings Community Action Organization with Mr. My goodness, forgot his name. Oh, Jeff.
Jeff Garner.
Jeff Garner. And we have our first meeting tomorrow at 4:30. So I will probably be reporting at our next board meeting or council meeting. And then May 10th, I did attend the coordinating conference at Fugazi's along with our Madam Mayor Matthews, Mayor Pro Tem Gornick, and our city manager Olson also was there. We had a good time. That's it.
Councilmember Lyons.
Yes, I spoke with Bobby Wardson from the Commission on Aging, and everything's going good with the Commission on Aging as, you know, normal. I was also in the city office today and I saw Mr. Greenlee's back at work. So yay, Mr. Greenlee. He was missed and, you know, just the police department, fire department, thank you guys, city staff, you guys do very good. That's it. That's all. I'm done.
Councilmember Orr.
I too was in the city offices last week and I saw Ray back and that's awesome to see. And then I got to first-handedly learn the process of buying a business or getting a business license for the city of Lemoore. That is fun. Thank you all, city staff, for all the hard work. And you guys are doing a pretty good job or a good job, I guess, on the budget. I fear that day next month very much, but you guys did a good job so far, and you guys, we're all gonna have to deal with the hand of cards we've been dealt with this. So it's going to be some rough conversations, and if we thought tonight's little thing was bad, wait for that. Thank you for the police fire. They did the police did a really good bus. Last week, was it? This weekend? Good job. I saw that. It was get the criminals off the site so the judges can let them out. So thank you very much. Everyone have a safe weekend. I plan on going to the Rocking the Arbor this Friday,
It's gonna be hot.
but it's gonna be hot, so we'll see. Thank you.
Councilmember Gornick.
Just a ditto on the city government meeting in Hanford. That was good discussion. We had a long discussion about homeless and how the cities respond. I thought it was good. And great to recognize the Badashi family, great members of our city, and I think great for us to do that as a council, and that's really neat. Hope we continue to do that for more of our businesses as well. Great, thank you.
You had to
Oh,
scroll so I could roll it
one
down.
more thing. I did go on a little tour of with the Sigma group and really got a toast of reality looking at the island district and the number of homes that are putting up sandbags. Really kind of reality kind of hits you there, you know, in terms of what they're getting prepared for. So yeah. So yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna echo the things that my council members already said, so I can take some of the stuff off my list. I also attended the Hope Grows Gala in Fresno on the 6th for Family Healing Center, which is a nonprofit that helps children and families get through trauma. But I also learned something while I was there that I met somebody that deals with our police department on a regular basis. They do work there and they do work here in Kings County as well. And I just wanted to let the chief know that she had nothing but excellent things to say about our department and our officers, and that not to compare with other places, but she can tell a difference in the level of care that our officers give and in wanting to get cases prosecuted. So I just wanted to echo that and let you know that it's noticed that our officers go above and beyond and really care for our community. So I just wanted to mention that. Also attended Captain Peterson's change of command with City Manager Nathan Olson and Councilmember Orth. Said goodbye to Captain Peterson and welcomed Captain O'Connor. Let's see. This Thursday, the South San Joaquin membership meeting will be in Madera, so I will be attending that. Also on the 20th, Valley Animal Haven is having a fundraiser between 11 and 1 for their annual fundraiser. So if you can check that out. Rock in the Arbor is this Friday, starting at 6:30, I believe. And then the following Friday, there will not have a Rock in the Arbor, but there will be a community dance at the Fleet Reserve starting at 7 PM. And I believe the tickets are $10 or $15. You can contact the Fleet Reserve for that. And June 3rd coming up, the Kings Lions will be having the Brewfest from 5 to 9 PM. I believe tickets are $50. You can get those by contacting their website. Oh, and that's actually all I have. But, sorry. Mr. Olson had another.
So yeah, Marissa reminded me of something I forgot to mention earlier. So we're switching over many of our systems at this fiscal year transition. So in order to get the cutoff done from the old system to the new system and to provide the additional training to our employees, we're going to be closing city offices on June 30th and July 3rd. So we'll be posting notice to the public, but that'll allow us to we're kind of carrying two sets of books during this transition. So we need to get those transitions done the year end for finance taken care of. So we're going to be shutting city offices down from June 30th and July 3rd. And then additionally, this Saturday from 9 to 10:30, the eastbound lane in front of the Veterans Hall will be shut down. There's an event going on. So there'll be a slight road closure. There's a bunch of motorcycles going to be in town. So they'll be parking out there, but it'll only be for like an hour and then it'll be reopened. So that's it. Thank you.
And go to Badashi's, you get a hot dog after that.
Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah, don't forget to check out the
Yeah.
event this weekend. And with that, we will adjourn.
Good.